Oh, I'm such a nerd for self-discovery. What's up, socials? Have you ever tried to figure out why you tried to pick up a habit or even drop a habit, but weren't necessarily successful? I totally understand your pain. And we do all this research and we're like, oh, I just have to try this or try that, but everything that's suggested to me depends on who I am and how I do things. Well, how am I supposed to know how I do things if I have not been able to be successful? That's why it's so important to know more about yourself. If there's anything that we can do to continue to educate ourselves, no matter what it is that we do, it is so important for your own self-discovery to be a part of that education process. And that is why I'm completely nerding out over a certain individual by the name of Gretchen Rubin. I'm in the middle of reading her first book, The Happiness Project, a book that I was pretty convinced I didn't need for a really long time, and I saw it in the airport a lot, and I was like, I don't need that book. And now I'm like, I really needed this book. So I waited forever to pick it up. She's also published a newer book called Better Than Before, and I also listened to her podcast, Happier. But the reason I'm telling you about her is this. Through the process of happiness, self-discovery, changing habits, all that kind of stuff that we're trying to learn more about in our lives, specifically me learning about in my life, she has this thing called the 4 Tendencies framework, which is essentially a way of finding out what type of person you are by the way you think, potentially rationalize things that would make you want to change or not change or do something at all in the first place. And oh my God, it is amazing. It's amazing actually that you can take people and separate them into these 4 categories, but it makes so much sense when you do. The 4 categories are upholder, obliger, questioner, and rebel. And you should go and do all the research about them and what they all mean, but essentially, each one categorizes you about how you receive expectations, inner and outer. I am a questioner, so I'm all about the inner expectation because I know why I do everything, but I have to come to that conclusion myself. But as soon as an outer expectation comes my way, I immediately resist it. And it isn't until I take that outer expectation and turn it into an inner expectation that it becomes a thing in my life. Understanding who I am and even having friends, and I've had my clients take this quiz to learn what tendency they are. It helps me so much to understand how they receive expectations if I really want them to start thinking about doing something. I have to speak their language. This has always been something that I've recognized that, oh, you can tell someone, oh, you better wake up early. You are so much better off when you wake up early. But if you don't tell them why in the way that they actually see things to be worth it, it's not going to compute. Just knowing why people make decisions and using this framework to kind of get a little bit of an edge on that, oh my gosh, it's the most eye-opening thing ever. Especially when it comes to myself, because now I know why all these people tell me to do things and I'm like, go away. I'm like, oh, this makes so much sense now. You must go take this very quick and eye-opening quiz. It will change your life. Find out what tendency you are, and then I want you to share below in the comments where my questioner is at. But trust me, a lot of my friends are not questioners, which is making a lot of sense to me because of the way that people receive expectations and information and the way we balance each other. So interesting. I've linked up the quiz below. Also, go check out Gretchen's YouTube channel. Tons of great stuff over there, and go tell her I sent you. That's all for today, socials. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it as always, and I'll see you tomorrow.